Great. Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to be here with Peerlogic. And today, here with Peerlogic, we have Cassandra and Bree, and so excited to introduce them as new partners of Dentist Advisors in our partner program. Peerlogic has really caught our attention because of what it can do for your office and because of everybody buzzing about AI and the opportunities that AI has inside of a dental practice, how it can make your efficiencies better and be able to communicate with patients better and really not miss out on incoming business or calls, or not to mention track and record them and be able to highlight areas that the team members can get better at by tracking the AI words that Peerlogic can provide for you. So without trying to completely introduce what Peerlogic does, because we're so excited about it, we're excited to turn it over to Bree and Cassandra from Peerlogic. And thank you both for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having us. Really quickly, I'll introduce myself. I'm Cassandra Freeman, Head of Corporate Development over here at Peerlogic. So we've been really excited to start working with dental advisors and kind of like bringing a partnership there to life. So we're excited to kind of work together, offer some exclusive discounts for their clientele. And then I have Breanna McMillan here. She is our head of sales at Peerlogic. And so she'll be able to drive us through Peerlogic's innovative AI-powered solutions that are really going to help with office efficiency, patient engagement, revenue growth. But Bree, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, thanks so much for the introduction, Cassandra. Spencer, super excited to be here. Like Cassandra said, I'm head of sales here at Peerlogic. So I come from a little bit non-traditional role coming into sales. I actually have a clinical background, and working for Peerlogic and seeing what a difference this makes for the offices, I wish I had had this when I worked on the clinical side of things. So a little bit about Peerlogic. So we actually were one of the first AI players to the space. So our company started in 2020, where we started with all of our AI insights. Google actually backed our company early on, fed us thousands and thousands of dental conversations that we were able to feed into our AI. So our AI can listen to a conversation that happens on a phone within a dental practice. It can analyze it, pull out all the pertinent information, and regurgitate that information back to the office to help the office not just improve production, but help with like staff training, finding out like where we can improve our business, how our marketing is doing, and just getting that better, well-rounded understanding of what's happening with the practice. So some of the things we heard whenever we came about and why Peerlogic was created is that in a dental practice, especially at the front office, they are so busy juggling like multiple different hats that on average, 38% of calls go unanswered. And it's not because the staff isn't trying to answer the calls. It's because they have patients in front of them checking in and checking out, doctors asking questions, the back office staff is asking them questions, and they're just juggling a lot, and they can't always get to that phone when they need to get to it. And then when they do answer the phone, a lot of times offices, they're just trying to like hurry up and get off the phone because again, they have so many things going on. So when they do answer those phones, what we're seeing is that on average of all the new patients that call the practice and those calls are answered, only 23% of those new patients actually get booked on the schedule, because a lot of times we're just answering their questions and just trying to hurry up and get off the call so we can hit the next patient that we have to take care of. And then adding to that, so whenever a missed call happens, on average, an office has 7 minutes to call that new patient back, or the new patient's going to call the competition down the street and they're going to give their business to the people down the street or whoever's first to answer or return their call. So that's kind of where Peerlogic's birth happened. We understood that we had all these issues in a dental practice. And again, it's not because we have stellar front office staff. They just juggle too much. So we want to be an extension of the staff, and we want to be there to help them make their lives better. It's a win-win for everybody when the front office can tackle more tasks without having to put out more effort. The office wins and doc wins because we're going to have a better patient experience. We're going to have better production, and the office is just going to flow more efficiently. So kind of just hopping in our platform, we actually named our platform Amy. Amy, again, she's there designed to be an extension of the office staff. One of her many, many features is she wants to help the front office staff as quick and easy as possible. So the moment a phone call comes into the practice, Amy's going to pop up and she's going to say, hey, John Doe's calling. Here's all his information. Here's upcoming appointments he has. Here's all his family members. Here's their appointments. And you know what? If John actually called 12 times today, here's a summary of all his calls so you can catch up on what's going on while you're talking to him and trying to proactively handle this conversation. So it's going to keep the staff from having to move over into the practice management system, seeing, what's going on there. They can answer those questions on the fly just like that because they have all that information in front of them. So on top of Amy's features there, Amy's biggest feature and probably the most help she provides in office is how she helps with missed calls. So again, we talked about on average, there's 38% of missed calls within an office. We also discovered that with those missed calls, about 35% of scheduling activities happen outside of office hours. So we want to make sure the staff is capturing all of those patients, all of the missed calls, everybody that's looking at them. So what Amy does is when a missed call happens, she automatically reaches out to that patient through text message. She's going to have an end-to-end conversation with those patients. So she's going to do everything from answer basic inquiries, what are directions to the office? What are your office hours? What insurances do you accept? Down to she can schedule a new patient. She can reschedule appointments. She can cancel appointments. Anything and everything that a front office person could do with scheduling, she's going to be there to help you. She's not going to be able to completely replace staff. I want to make sure that I make that super important. She's there to be an extension of you because there's always going to be that human need. When a clinical question comes up, oh my goodness, my tooth broke. What do I need to do? Amy's going to raise her hand and she's going to say, you know what? I'm not equipped to answer that, but I will have a stellar member of our staff reach out and call you immediately and they can get that question answered for you. So while she's going to handle the bulk of the conversations in the office for you so that you don't have to worry about calling those patients back, when there's a moment where she does need human intervention, she's going to raise her hand and she's going to say, hey, staff, here's the patient. You need to reach out and call immediately. And Amy loves to show her value. So she has a dashboard where you can see everything that she does. You can see every patient she worked with. She automatically is going to come into this dashboard and she's going to update the status if she booked that patient, if that patient needs you to reach out. Her dashboard is going to consistently stay updated. You don't always have to hop in the dashboard because Amy's going to send those live alerts to you where it pops up on your computer and you have that information. But at the end of the day, when you want to see how she's performing, you're going to have that ability here. So of all the calls that come in, Amy's going to break it down to how many of those weren't duplicate calls because patients do call back multiple times. And she's going to show you how many she actually reacted with, how many patients she booked, rescheduled. And at the end of the day, instead of returning 500 calls, you're going to have to return 65. So outside of that, I'm going to hop over. Amy also, where
Hey,
she's
Bree, can you
go
go
ahead.
back to the text right below the reschedule call? No.
Sorry.
One more day. Yeah. Identify those who can't receive SMS and didn't respond. So, does Amy either talk about the SMS correspondence between Amy and patient?
Yeah. So Amy, because it's through text message, Amy is going to it's going to be a natural conversational flow. So Amy is going to have that delay while the patient answers. For one, it gives the patient time to send multiple texts, which happens regularly. And then she's going to answer and she's going to respond and sound like she's a member of the staff. It's not going to sound robotic like an AI bot you would hear on voice. Think of when, you call like American Airlines and you have that robotic voice. You change how you talk to it. You're going to give it short, to the point answers. With Amy, because of the natural conversation flow she has, patients give her a wealth of knowledge and sometimes way too much information, but they feel like they're being cared for just like that individual staff member would. And the text flow goes back and forth. Amy even sends out jokes. She has a sense of humor. She uses emojis, and it's just a natural conversation flow that really makes it for a great patient experience.
Yeah, that's good. Good to learn that. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, perfect. Well, and then I'm going to hop over to our actual platform, just show a little bit about how, what our actual platform looks like. We talked about Amy's analyzing all those conversations in the office, And with her being able to do that, what she does is she provides a wealth of knowledge of what's happening on the phone system. You know, we have lots of insights to what happens in our practice because we can pull information from our practice management system. But what actually happens to those calls and the patients who call in but never actually step foot in the office? Amy's going to give all that information. So what she does is she takes all the calls that come into the practice, whether it's answered or a voicemail, and she's going to analyze that call. And she's not using call tracking numbers. She's literally using the actual conversation. And she can say, based off of all those conversations I was fed, I can tell this was a new patient and they were upset because the staff had like a negative sentiment and that's why they didn't book. So she's going to give all of that information, including any barriers for why a patient didn't schedule if they didn't schedule that appointment. So what she does is she takes all the calls that came in and she scrubs out all the ones that don't matter. So think friends and family, all the dental labs, the salespeople calling in, and she directs you to the calls that actually matter, that's discussing some type of opportunity that could directly impact your revenue. She'll say how many were new or existing patients, who booked, who didn't book. And at the end of the day, when you want to see what's going on, you can dive straight into these calls. So here's a list of all the new patients who called into this practice and didn't book. You can see the missed calls that Amy handled, and then you can see the calls that were actually handled by an actual staff member. Now, this is our Peerlogic test account, so this may or may not be an actual dental conversation that we have. But what she does is she analyzes that in conversation, and she brings it into a quick call summary where you can see exactly what happened on that call. So this, it looks like there wasn't an actual conversation here. But so she's going to summarize the entire call for you so that you can see exactly what happened on that call. So you don't have to listen to the call. You can just go through the quick bullets, see exactly what happened without having to spend time diving into, you know, a 5-minute phone call. Then she pulls out the pertinent insights. You know, what type of patient was this? What was the sentiment on the call? You know, where was the staff smiling? Were they having a bad 5 minutes in their day? What procedures, symptoms, insurances, anything and everything they discussed. And then did this appointment book? And if it didn't book, she's always going to give a failure reason why. So maybe this is a patient who called in and financing was an issue, but we didn't offer them financing. Amy's going to flag this as an opportunity, alert the staff, hey, call that patient back, offer them a financing option to see if we can't recover that missed revenue opportunity. Outside of that, she has a plethora of knowledge. So Amy's Call Explorer, what this is all of the inbound and outbound calls that come into the practice. And from here, you can gain whatever type of knowledge that you need from Amy. So you can come in here and you can filter these calls any way you want to. If you want to see how marketing campaigns are performing, you have that ability to see that here. If you want to see how an individual user in the office is performing. A lot of offices, you know, especially with the high staff turnover we have right now, they use this as, hey, let me see Susie, who is our A+ performer. Let me see all her calls where she booked those calls and they discussed something high end, like maybe an implant or an all-on-4. There'll be a list of all those calls where you can use those for training purposes. This is how we speak to those higher end cases, and this is how we get better case acceptance with those conversations. On the flip side, say we have a new employee, we just want to see how they're doing when we're not able to sit with them. You can pull all their calls and just do a quick check-in on how things are going. A lot of our offices also use this to help build the schedule. Say a crown falls off the schedule, we can come in here and say, I want to see every call that came in that didn't book, that discussed a crown. Here you're going to have a list of all the patients who recently called your practice but didn't book for whatever reason. Amy's going to tell you what that barrier is. So you can quickly call this patient and get them on the schedule, and you don't have to worry about going through, you know, your open treatment where you might not have spoken to that patient in 6 months about that crown that they needed.
Question, Bree, do you see that some offices utilize Amy in addition to someone that is also answering the phone? And these are missed phone calls. These are weekend phone calls. These are Friday phone calls where the office is not in there. Or, and on the other side of this, do you just see offices today just saying Amy is the only way to go for answering our phones and so forth?
So, I mean, Amy is amazing. She is an incredible woman, but she can't do everything. So most of our offices are utilizing Amy in conjunction with their staff. The best part about her, though, she works 24/7. So she's going to be there days, nights, weekends, and holidays. So your staff doesn't have to worry about taking home, an emergency phone anymore. Amy's going to alert you when there's an emergency that needs to be handled. So they're going to get back a little bit of that like work-life balance where they're not having to worry about work after hours when they're with their family. And the other side of that too is, when staffing does happen, let's be honest, like dental practices are mostly women. Maternity leave is going to happen. Kids are going to get sick. Staff's going to be sick. So whenever staff is out, Amy's going to be there. She's going to have the staff's back, and she's going to be able to help handle those conversations so that there's not going to be any changes in revenue or production or the patient experience for that day.
Nice. In a reminder to everyone listening, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but while the front desk live person is on the phone with a live patient, Amy is also listening in, because that is the AI that is recording and tracking and giving updates for the notes that you didn't take during the call, or giving the statistics to the office later on.
Yep, correct. She basically just lives silently in the background of the phone system, and she's just sitting there analyzing everything.
Yeah. Very cool.
So that, for the most part, that is Amy in a nutshell. Like I said, she's a stellar woman. She's there to help the offices at Peerlogic. Really, like, that's what we want to do, is we want to make sure that the patient experience is amazing. We want to help the office get as much production as possible, but we also want to help the staff who they feel overburdened and overwhelmed at the front office a lot of time. And Amy just is there to give them a little bit of relief and to help everybody as a whole.
Talk about, is the call recorded by Amy also?
Correct. So, well, it either can be recorded through the existing VoIP system in the office, or through Peerlogic does have our own in-house VoIP system. So the VoIP system's actually doing the recording. Amy's just sitting there analyzing it. And the VoIP system is what actually puts that recording into the dashboard itself.
Is that VoIP system what is also purchased and provided through Peerlogic? You have the hardware, the phone system that our offices will purchase and get from Peerlogic.
Correct. So we have the VoIP system, we have, the phones, we have the complete customization capabilities that every VoIP system has. So we can make the phone system as simplistic or as complex as an office needs. But if an office is just married to their VoIP system and they love what they already have, they're not worried about adding additional tech stack, then we can just integrate with their actual phone system that they already have in place. So it's either option. Amy still functions and works great no matter which direction the office wants to go. It will save them a little bit of money, though, if they go with the Peerlogic VoIP system. We just added it at no cost.
Got it. So the system, basically, the hardware comes with signing up for Peerlogic. Okay. And what if the office is like, we're moving completely to mobile devices rather than, is the VoIP system required? Like, is the hardware required in order to facilitate this?
It's not. As long as they're using a VoIP system that has those call recordings, there's no issues whatsoever. We have offices that use a desktop phone system, so they don't have physical hardware with that. And then we have offices that do use those mobile apps. So as long as it's a VoIP system, calls are recorded, Peerlogic has that ability to work with the office and analyze all the information.
Man, that's so cool. And when you mentioned tech stack, that is now that's a new phrase inside of dentistry today, because now you're starting to say, like, what is going to integrate with Peerlogic and Amy? Can Amy utilize certain things in the tech stack, such as calendars, Google, and scheduling appointments and so forth directly from? Can you review some of the tech stack that syncs well with Peerlogic?
Yeah, so when it comes to Amy, really what she's going to do is she's going to integrate with the practice management system. That way she has access to the schedule. You get to come in, set the parameters exactly how you want her to schedule things. So even if you don't want her to handle cancellations because you have a cancellation policy, she'll say, I'll have a staff member reach out to you. But when it comes to the tech stack, really that's where she's going to integrate, is the practice management system, and then the phone system as well.
So cool. Man, very good. We are really excited. Everybody can tell this is super innovative and a need inside the practices today for being able to deal with staff and turnover and efficiencies and being able to utilize a technology that will help track and record. The one thing we didn't get too much into is it's like, hey, what is office staff member Susie doing so well to close all of these appointments? Like, what is going on? Let's listen in and hear. So Amy records, correct me if I'm wrong. And then best practices are shared.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? A lot of our offices find, and this was kind of shocking to me, but if you think about it, it makes sense. A lot of offices come into Peerlogic and they start realizing, you know what, like Susie, I thought was the best person on the phone. She answers more calls than anybody. Patients absolutely love her. They rave about her when they come in the practice. But when you start looking at it, Susie isn't converting any of those phone calls. She's just sitting there chatting with the patients, having, fun on the phones. But maybe Amy, she answers half of what Susie does, but she's booking every one of those calls. So it's really interesting to find insights into like, Amy's not answering as many calls, but she handles the conversation differently and she's able to convert those patients where, Susie, she does a really good job, but she just needs a few tips in how, just like you said, and best practices so that she can start converting as many of those calls as the other person.
So cool. Well, there's a lot more to come from Peerlogic, and for everybody checking this out on Facebook, you can schedule with Peerlogic on dentistadvisors.com. They are on our partner page for scheduling consultations, scheduling a demo, and you can do it right from watching this on Facebook as well. So excited to have you guys. Thanks, Bree. Thanks, Cassandra, for being here. We're really looking forward to the partnership with you.
Thanks so much for having us, Spencer. We're so excited to be working with you in your offices.
Perfect. Thank you.